Yes, you haven't yet.
Okay, haven't, yeah. Okay, today what I'm going to do, yeah, I'm going to do trespass to person, yeah. Okay, this is important, yeah. Trespass to land and trespass to person is very, very important, both, yeah. So if you're having a exam question, so it will comprise both trespass to land and also trespass to person. These are what you call as intentional thought. This is in law, we call it as intentional thought, yeah. Okay, now going back to trespass to person, yeah, sorry, to land, yeah. This is governed under Article 13, subsection 1. Article 13, subsection 1. Article 13, subsection 1 of the Federal Constitution, and also section 5, of the National Land Code. Section 5 of the National Land Code. Section 5 of the National Land Code. So what you need to know is section 13 of the Federal Constitution and section 5 of the National Land Code 1965 of Malaysia. These are the two things you need to know as far as trespass to land is concerned. Yeah. Okay. Now, going back here, we'll just follow the slide here. We just follow the slide which I've given you all here on trespass to land. Yeah, I think that is the it comes under topic 13. It comes under topic 13. Am I right? It comes under topic 13. It comes under topic 13. Yeah. Okay. But before I go into what does that explains, yeah, trespass to land means, yeah, before I go into that, yeah, following the slide which you are having with you all, yeah. But let me tell you here, you need to know what does section 5 of the National Land Code explains on trespass to land is concerned. What do you mean by trespass to land under section 5 of the National Land Code? Okay, so National Land Code section 5 says define land. It is defining land. So it's giving a definition of what is land. What is land under the National Land Code? It's giving you the definition of land under the National Land Code. The first, it says the surface of the earth. The surface of the earth and all substances forming that surface. So that means, yeah, land is defined as the surface of the earth and all substances forming under that surface, comma, the earth below the surface, and all substances therein, comma, all vegetation and other natural products, all vegetation and all other natural products on the surface or below the surface, comma, all things attached to the earth or permanently attached to the earth, and finally land covered by water, So all these comprise of land, the definition of land. Yeah, all these comprise the definition of land. Are you following? Okay. Now, you see, I'm trying, whatever information I'm giving on this is what you need to know here for as far as the exam is concerned. Yeah. Okay. Below that, yeah, just take down this. Yeah. Section 44. Section 44, subsection 1. Section 44, subsection 1 of the National Land Code provides, Section 44, subsection 1, to be very precise here, Section 44, subsection 1, subsection A, small a, yeah, of the National Land Code provides. Hello, are you listening? Can you listen? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Provides that, okay, a person has the right, a person has the right to the exclusive, a person has the right to the exclusive use and enjoyment of so much of column of airspace above the surface of the land. I repeat again, yeah. A person has the right to the exclusive use and enjoyment of so much of column of air space above the surface of land and so much of the land below that surface as is reasonably necessary to the lawful use and enjoyment of the said land. You got it? Hello, have you all taken down? Hello, have
Sir,
you
can you
all?
repeat again?
I repeat the whole thing again, yeah? Section 44, subsection 1, subsection A of the National Land Code provides a person has the right to the exclusive use and enjoyment of so much of the column COLUMN, yeah, of airspace above the surface of the land and so much of the land below that surface as is reasonably necessary to the lawful use and enjoyment of the said land. Okay. This definition, yeah, was also illustrated in one case here. I'm not going to give you the facts of the case. You just mentioned the case is enough. Haji Jafar bin Haji Hashim. Haji Jafar bin Haji Hashim versus Rohani binti Abdul Latif. Binti Abdul Latif. You got it? You got it, yeah? Okay. I've all taken down. Okay, now we'll go into what are the elements. What are the elements needed for trespass to land? What are the elements needed for trespass to land? So that means, yeah, what are the elements needed to establish for trespass of land? Okay, there are few elements needed to establish trespass to land. The first one, okay, these are the things here you all need to know, but I'm going to give a bit in detail here. But as far as the exam is concerned, just briefly is sufficient, but I'm going to give you a bit detail here, whereby you will know how the entire things work here. Number one, the mental state of the defendant. The mental state, STATE, of the defendant. That is the first element you need to establish for trespass to land. The mental state of the defendant. Okay. What do you mean by the mental state of the defendant? Here, what you need to know is the defendant must intend. The defendant must intend to do the act alleged to be a trespass. The defendant must intend to do the act alleged to be trespass. This intention may be the intention to trespass, can be either voluntary act or either can be voluntary or not, or no intention, but it is not necessary to prove that the defendant knew that he was trespassing. Okay, it is not necessary to prove the defendant knew that he was trespassing. That means here the plaintiff not necessarily need to prove that the defendant knew that he was trespassing. The mere fact he's trespassing itself is sufficient. The mere fact he's trespassing, that itself is sufficient. That itself is sufficient here. To support this, you can cite one case. The name of the case is Gilbert versus Stone. Gilbert versus Stone. Okay, so that means, yeah, okay, what you need to know under this first heading, the mental state of the defendant, that means what you need to know is there must be an intention to trespass. Secondly, the act of entry is thus voluntary. And thirdly, the interference to the plaintiff land is foreseeable consequences of the defendant's act or omission. Omission means conduct. I'll repeat again, yeah. So therefore, to establish trespass by the plaintiff, yeah, he need to just clear these three out. There exists an intention to trespass by the defendant. 2, the act of entry is done voluntarily. And thirdly, the interference to the plaintiff's land is foreseeable. Foreseeable, F-O-R-E-S-E-E-A-B-L-E. Foreseeable consequences of the defendant's act or omission. You remember the second one I did mention, that the act of entry is thus voluntarily. That means here, the defendant must voluntarily go into the plaintiff's land. Voluntarily. If let's say somebody is pointing a gun at him and telling him us to go into that land, is he going in voluntarily? No, that is involuntarily land. As long as that could be established by the defendant that he did not enter the land voluntarily, but he was forced to or threatened to go in, then it is not trespass. Then it's not trespass. Yeah. Okay. That's the first element. That means the intention, the mental state of that defendant. That's the first one. Yeah. The second one, interference. The second one is interference. Okay, what do you mean by interference here? What do you mean by interference here? Trespass to land consists of 3 factors. Under interference, yeah. Under interference, the second element is interference, right? Under interference, trespass to land consists of 3 factors. First, it is an act of entering upon land in possession of another. Second, having entered upon such land, the trespasser continue to remain on the land. And thirdly, the trespasser placed or projected any object on that land. You got it? So that means, yeah, the second...
Sir, can you repeat? You are a little bit too fast.
Okay, the second element to establish trespass to land is interference. Under interference, trespass to land under interference consists of 3 factors. First one, yeah, it is the act of entering upon land in the possession of another. 2, or secondly, having entered upon such land, the trespasser continue to remain on the land. And thirdly, the trespasser placed or projected any object on that land. So all these comprise of interference. All these comprise of interference. All these comprise of interference. So that means, yeah, Interference, one is he's going into a land of another person, entering a land belonging to another person, entering into that land and remaining there. And thirdly, placing some object on that particular line. Can be any one of these, still interference. Can be any one of these, but still it could be interference. Maybe to support this, one case, Grigory, Gregory versus Piper, You can cite that case, or one of the leading Malaysian case, Janaki, Janaki versus Chok, Cheok, Chuan, Chuan, Seng, Seng. Okay. So here, okay, that case here. Now, who need to establish all these elements? The intention, the mental state, and the interference. Who need to show all these things? Who need to show all these things? Hello? Who need to establish this? The plaintiff, am I right? Yes or no? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
So who need to establish this? The plaintiff. Who need to establish these elements? The plaintiff, am I right? Okay. So who need to establish this? The plaintiff, right? You have one case for that. Tan V Chong. Tan Tan. Tan V W-E-E. Chong. Sorry, not Chong, yeah, Chun. Choon. Versus Ong Pak Seng. Versus Ong Pak Seng. So that are the cases to support as far as your second element is concerned, here. As long as you could establish this here, is more than enough. That is more than enough, Okay, but if you see your slides here, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, slide 3, 4, that all gives you whatever I was talking about to you, yeah. But going back to slide 4, can you all see slide 4? Hello, nampak tak slide 4?
Yes, boleh.
Okay, slide 4, yeah. Slide 4, it touches on adverse possession. Adverse possession means, you know what I mean by adverse possession? In Malaysia, if you go into another person's land and without the knowledge of the owner, you have been staying there for the last 20 years, or even 5 years, or 15 years, or even 20 years, if you've been staying in that particular land, you cannot become the owner of that land. That is what section 341 of the Limitation Act 1953 of Malaysia says. Whereas in England and the European countries, if you occupy a piece of land, and if you're staying in that land for more than 19 years continuously, if you're living in that land continuously for more than 19 years, you become the owner of that particular land. So that means, yeah, adverse possession doesn't work in Malaysia, but it works in England and most of the European countries here. That is the reason why, yeah, in most of the European countries, including England, The moment it's a vacant land, they will put up a fencing on that particular piece of land. They'll put up a fencing. They worry that someone might go in and stay in that particular land without the knowledge of the owner. If they stay there continuously, then they will become the owner of that particular land. Whereas in Malaysia, if you, let's say, a piece of land which is owned by somebody, you've been living, you build up a house in there and you've been living in that house for the last 50 years, you still cannot become the owner of the land here because adverse possession does not apply in Malaysia. That you need to know, yeah? Okay, so far so good, so far so good. Okay, so you know what is interference and all the things, yeah? Now, this you need very briefly only know. You don't need to know too defense in here too or too detail in here, yeah? Because as far as your final exam is concerned, yeah, very briefly only on trespass to land, trespass to person, and trespass to goods. Okay, did I mention about interference with goods last week itself? I've already explained, right? Interference of goods. Hello? Yes or no? I did person and goods last week, am I right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so this is what you need to know as far as land is concerned. Very briefly only, very briefly only you need to know, yeah? Okay, and yeah, under land, yeah, one more thing you need to know in your land, yeah, one more thing you need to know on your land, yeah, but I'm not sure whether it is in the slides or not, yeah. I'm not sure is it in your slides here, but whatever I'm giving you, this is what you need to know as far as your exam is concerned, yeah. Okay, wait, let me see in your slides whether I have that or not, yeah. Let me see 1 second. Okay, now you put in one heading, yeah, a small heading has easement, E-A-S-E-M-E-N-T, easement. All you need to know on easement is, yeah, all you need to know about easement is, yeah, easement means any right granted. Easement, E-A-S-E-M-E-N-T. Easement means any right granted by one proprietor to another, such right being for the beneficial enjoyment of the other's land. Okay, I do not go into detail on this here. You know why? Because easement you do has one topic when you're doing your law of property. When you're doing your law of property, yeah, maybe I don't know which semester you'll be doing law of property, that you'll be going through in detail the National Land Code, NLC, yeah, 1965. There you'll be doing under what is easement, yeah. Okay, what is easement means here? Okay, let's say, yeah, you have two pieces of land. The front portion is land A, and behind land A is land B. Okay, the owner of land B, if he wants to get into that land, he has to go through a small portion of land A. So that means a right is granted by A for B to get access into his land. Okay, so whatever path he's going through, that is called easement. So that is what you mean by easement. For easement to take place here, there are a few guidelines, very briefly. The owners of land A and land B must be two different owners. And it's going to benefit for one of those owners of the land. So this is what you need to know as far as now is concerned, yeah, because I do not go this in detail because this was established in one landmark case called Ray Allen Borough. That all you need to know under your syllabus at this point of time. As long as you know, this is more than enough. Okay. Okay. Any question, please? Any question, please? You all have any question? You all have any question to ask me now? Hello? Any question? Okay, now, you see here, we have one more class, isn't there? Hello? One or two more classes left. Only one, right?
On.
One more, yeah? Okay, I think, yeah, what we'll do now is, yeah, have you all received any notes or any from your Imperia that your exam begins on the 21st? Is it 18 or 21st, yeah?
Next week.
21st, and then you'll have a Christmas holiday, and then you'll start back again 28, no, 26 to 30th or something like that. Am I right?
We haven't get the schedule yet lah. We only know when to start and when to end.
When to start, and I think it's ending on the 31st of December. Okay. In between, you have a small break because of your Christmas break. Yeah. Okay. I think now they've already finalized. So that means you don't have any assignment to do. You don't have any assignment to do, but you have your final exam and your midterm exam together. But I'm not sure whether you're going to have it on the same day or not. I'm not sure also. Yeah. Maybe tomorrow we might know. But you're going to have your midterm exam and your final exam. So equal weightage for both. Equal weightage for both, for your final exam and also for your midterm exam. So that means, yeah, 50% for both. 50 for your final and 50 for your midterm exam. So what I'm going to do now here, since more or less it's been finalized, what we'll do is that we'll try to focus on now on your midterm, what you are the areas which you need to focus here, because equal weightage for your midterm exam and also for your final exam. Okay, shall we do that? Class rep, mana class rep?
Yes, yes.
Okay, class rep, shall we do that? Or you know,
Or what?
you know why? Another thing, yeah. But don't worry, I'll have one separate class for you all. Next week would not be your last class, yeah. Officially, as far as the college is concerned, next week will be your last class. But I'll have one more with you. Okay? If you all wanted.
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll have one maybe a couple of days before your exam starts, yeah. I'll have one class with you. Don't worry about that, yeah. Okay, what we're going to do now is, yeah, I'm going to go through the areas which, okay, now another thing here, your environmental law. You remember your environmental law? Hello?
Yes.
Your environmental law, yeah. As far as the final exam is concerned, yeah, it's not in your final exam, environmental law. And also it doesn't appear in your midterm also. But the part is what you mean by this, yeah. I've set two set of final exam questions for you. Normally that's the procedure for all lecturers, yeah. You have to set two sets, set 1 and set 2. But your environmental law is in your set 2, not in your set 1. So normally for the final they use set 1. In case of any receipt, they might use the set 2, is it? Okay, but that this is the reason why I want to have one separate class later towards the exam, then I will know for sure. Okay, but at this point of moment, don't worry on that, yeah. Okay, what we're going to do is, yeah, we'll cover on the areas where you need to know as far as your midterm is concerned, yeah. Okay, we'll go very, very slowly on this, yeah. We'll go very, very slowly on this, yeah. Okay, now, your midterm, yeah, you have 5 questions. Your midterm exam, you have 5 questions. You answer any 4. You answer any 4 out of the 5 questions which have been set. Now, one of the areas which you need to know is on not on true offer, but is on invitation to treat. Okay, one of the areas which you need to know is on invitation to treat. You need to know on invitation to treat. Okay, it doesn't touch on true offer, but it touches on invitation to treat. Okay, now I'm going to go a bit in detail on invitation to trade. I'm not going to touch anything on true offer now. I'm just going to focus only because this we are covering the area for your midterm. Yeah. So I'm going to just cover on invitation to trade. Okay. Now, Cho, can you just very briefly explain to me what is your understanding of invitation to trade? Hello? Cho, isn't it? Collie Cho. Yeah, yes, Cho.
Chloe. Yeah.
Collie, yeah.
Invitation to trade is a form of contract,
Okay.
and then is accepting an offer and create a binding contract. Well, accepting is an invitation to trade to actually make an offer.
Okay, who's making an offer there?
Mm,
In an invitation to trade, who makes an offer? Okay, Wong Shi Pei. Wong Shi Pei, are you on the line? Wong Shi Pei? Wong Shin Pei, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
not.
tell me.
I'm not sure.
Okay, hello. Hello for all of your information, yeah. This is in a midterm town. Okay, listen, yeah. Invitation, okay. You know, it's not an essay question, yeah. Let me tell you, your midterm on invitation to treat is not an essay question, but it's a small scenario area, yeah. Okay, now, what would be the scenario, yeah? The scenario will be that there would be an advertisement saying that some offer would be made, and if you take this offer, then you get a reduction of 50% or whatever, you know. Maybe to stay in a hotel or to stay in a launch or whatever, you know. Okay, more along this line, yeah. Now, invitation to treat, the key thing you need to know, the person who is inviting, does not make an offer. In an invitation to treat, the person who is inviting does not make an offer. But the person who is responding, is the one who makes an offer. So that means, yeah, if I'm the owner of a hotel, let's say I'm the owner of a hotel, I'm advertising that there'll be a reduction of 50% in my hotel if you come and stay there. So here, I am not making an offer. I'm inviting the public. To make an offer. I'm not making an offer, but the public is making an offer to come and stay in my hotel because there is a reduction of 50%. Okay, so that means the person who is responding, to an advertisement, they are the offerer and I'm the offeree. The person who's responding to an advertisement, they are the offerer and I'm the offeree. It's up to me whether to accept or not to accept. Am I right? Okay, any case to support this? Wong? Actually, can you tell me any case?
Stevenson and Donahue.
Huh?
Stevenson and Donahue.
Okay, you see, yeah. So are you referring to which case again? Can you speak a bit louder? I can't hear.
I'm saying the case is Stevenson versus Donahue.
Stevenson and Donahue. Hello, that is a law of thought case, you know, Stevenson. Donahue and Stevenson, are you referring to the Donahue and Stevenson case, the 1932 case? That is a case to establish negligence, you know. Remember that is the Ginger Bay case No, that is no relevancy here. What's the case for advertisement? Yeah, what's the case for advertisement? Patrish versus Crittenden, right? Remember Patrish versus Crittenden? Hello, anyone can follow me? Cassandra, have you heard of the case? Cassandra,
Yeah.
have you heard of the case of Patrish versus Crittenden?
Yeah.
Oh, can you spell again?
Huh?
Can you spell again the case name?
The name of the case is Patrish versus Crittenden. That is one of the leading case for advertisement. Remember, that's the case on Wildbird. Wildbird, the advertiser advertised in the classified section of newspaper that is going to offer to sell a wild bird called Babelfinch, because these are protected species, right? Go and study that case, because that is the leading case. You listen carefully here. That is the leading case, says that advertisement is only an invitation to trade and not a true offer. The advertiser does not make an offer, but the person who's responding to an advertisement, they are the one who makes an offer. It's up to the advertiser whether to accept or not accept, because the person who's responding, they are the one who's making an offer. So here, okay, so this is what you need to explain on what is invitation to trade. Okay, let's say, I'm going back to the scenario again. Yeah, let's say the person is going to stay in the hotel based on that advertisement, and the hotel is telling, look here, it's all booked, fully booked, and no more. Can he insist? Can he force? What do you think? Boleh atau tak boleh?
Can you repeat again the question?
Okay. See, this is a scenario, which you need to know. Yeah. Okay. Let's say I'm the owner of the hotel. Yeah, and I'm saying that I'm advertising. That's a reduction of 50% sales. Whoever come and stay in my hotel for 3 days or whatever a time frame has been given, and you're coming in to stay there, and I'm saying it's fully booked. It's fully booked. No more. Can you sue me?
No.
Cannot.
Okay. Go and do some work along this line. Yeah. Go and do some work along this line. Or one situation. Then second situation is, yeah, that person is calling up the hotel and telling, okay, I'm going to book for that 3 days which you have mentioned, a 50% reduction, and you're saying over the phone it's fully booked, and the person insists of saying that it's relying on that advertisement, forcing the hotel owner to book him for that particular 3 days. Can he sue? Boleh atau tak boleh? What do you think?
No.
Cannot, yeah? Okay. Now, let's say you have ordered, okay, that you need to explain. You're going to do some work, yeah? But on your last, maybe a couple of days before the exam, I'll go through on this again, I want you all to go and do some work, do some preparatory work, yeah? Okay. Now, let's say another situation, yeah? Again, on that same area, yeah? You're going and staying in the hotel. Okay, let's say that's a reduction and you're occupying, you're staying in the hotel. And in that particular hotel, let's say there is a shop, yeah, selling antique things and other things, display, selling some goods, and you're going to the shop, that particular shop, a souvenir shop, let's say a souvenir shop, you have to buy some things, and that person is telling a price has been stated there, or he's saying that he's not going to sell that particular goods. Can you force him to sell that particular goods? Okay, you have saw a souvenir there, and you wanted to buy that souvenir, and the person who's selling that is saying, this is the last one I'm having, this is only for display purpose, I'm not going to sell it to you. And you insist that you wanted it, and the owner of that particular souvenir shop is refusing to sell it to you. Can you sue?
No.
Hmm?
No.
What? Okay, okay. Janice, you say no, right? Can you give me a reason for saying no?
Because this is a display of goods. So the person actually is who responding is the offer ma. So the person at the offeree, they can choose to accept or not accept.
Okay, so that means what we are trying to say here is display of goods in a shop window is only an invitation to trade and not a true offer. Am I right? The person who's displaying the goods is inviting the public to make an offer. So you as a customer, you are making an offer to buy the goods. It's up to the owner of the souvenir shop whether to sell or not to sell to you, right? You can't force, right? Okay, any case to support your answer? Any case to support your answer? Okay, let me see. Teh Ho Jun, T Ho Jun, are you on the line? T. Hello, T, are you on the line?
Well, yes.
Tell me.
What's the
Yeah.
question again?
The question is, can you give me any case for display of goods?
I'm not so sure about that case.
Okay. What about Shelly? Shelly, do you know any case for display of goods, Shelly?
Yes. The PSGB versus the Boots Cash Chemist.
You can use the Pharmaceutical Society of Great Britain versus Boots Cash Chemist, am I right? Or another case, Fisher versus Bell, or another case, Fisher versus Bell. These are the two very, very leading cases on display of goods, am I right?
So,
What's
sorry, I want to ask, every scenario that we have answered it, we need to write the case to support, is it?
Okay, you see, you need to give the facts of the case, not necessarily to give the facts. If it's an essay question, then you have to give the facts of the case. It's a scenario, yeah. You can very briefly name the name of the case and what was the principle. Principle means, what was the law laid down in that case? Like the case of just now, somebody mentioned, Pharmaceutical Society of Great Britain versus Boots Cash Chemist, right? That particular case, the law or the principle laid down in that case is display of goods in a shop window with price or without price is only an invitation to trade and not a true offer. The person who's displaying the goods does not make an offer, but the customers are the one who makes an offer. It's up to the shopkeeper whether to accept or to reject. That was the principle laid down in the case of Pharmaceutical Society versus Boots Cash Chemist, or another case, Fisher versus Bell, FISHER versus Bell. These are the two leading cases.
Okay.
Okay. Dapat? Okay.
Yes.
That bit, I think that bit you all should be okay on that, yeah. Okay. Another bit you need to know. Okay, another area, which here I'm just talking on midterm, yeah. Alright, bear that in mind, yeah. Okay, another area you need to know is on terms of contract. Terms of contract. Hello, semua ada atau tak ada? Okay, terms of contract. Okay, now let me see, yeah. Let me see siapa ni. Jia, are you on the line, Jia? Jia King Tan, is it Jia King Tan? Yes, Jia. Jia. Joshua, are you on the line? Joshua, Rennie, Lau Cheng Yang. Hey, why the silence here?
Yes, sir, I'm on the line.
Okay, tell me. So don't ask me what's the question. Yes. Can anyone help me? Or can anyone answer? What do you mean by terms of contract?
Is this the implied terms and the express term?
Yes, under that, terms of contract means the body of an agreement. Am I right? Terms of contract means the body of an agreement. The body of an agreement. Am I right? Terms of contract means the body of an
Sir,
agreement.
my line is not good. Just now what you say.
No, I was just asking what do you mean by terms of contract? What do you mean by terms of contract? Terms of contract means the body of an agreement, the body of an agreement. Normally, when two parties are entering into an agreement, hello, listen here, whatever I'm saying, this is what you needed, try to take down, yeah? Okay, terms of contract means, yeah, the body of an agreement. Normally, the parties, before entering into a written agreement, yeah, the parties will be negotiating. Okay, the parties will be negotiating. Once the negotiation is done between the parties, then they will put it in writing. Okay, so whatever they put in writing, that is what we call as terms of contract. Okay, the terms of contract not necessary must be in writing. The terms of contract not necessary must be in writing. It can be in writing, it can be in oral or verbal, or it can be by conduct, or a combination of all the three, Okay, these terms of contract can be divided into three: express terms, implied terms, and innominate term or intermediate term. Okay, now you need to know here what is express terms. Okay, can anyone help me now? Okay, now Lau Cheng Yen, can you explain what is your understanding of express term? Lau. Hello, Lau Chen Yan. Are you on the line?
I cannot explain this one.
I cannot explain. Okay, what about Cassandra? Can you explain what's your understanding of express term, Cassandra, very quickly?
Is it divided into warranty and conditions?
Okay, before you go into that, what do you mean by express terms? Before you go into what is condition and what is warranty, can you just briefly explain what is your understanding of express term itself?
I only know that it's 95% of the time in writing.
Okay, okay, okay. Express terms means, yeah, express terms can be in writing, can be oral, or by way of conduct. Okay, express terms can be in writing, can be oral, or by conduct, or a combination of all the three. Okay, more than 95%, of the time, an express terms will be in writing. In fact, you can safely say 98% of the time, an express terms will be in writing, Okay, only the balance could be either oral or by way of conduct. Why? Because money is involved. Of course, both parties will be very cautious. Okay, so these express terms, yeah, can be subdivided into condition and warranty. This express term can be subdivided into condition and warranty. Am I right? Okay, what is a condition? What is a condition? Okay, now Cassandra, can you explain? Just now you did mention about condition, right? Can you brief condition very briefly?
If one party, it only applies for the Peninsula Malaysia, and then if one party breach a condition in an agreement, I'm not sure.
Huh? You're not sure?
How do you want me to explain?
Explain what is condition. What's your understanding of condition? That's your understanding of condition. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Okay. Shahira Akma, what about you, Shahira Akma? Shahira Akma, can you explain? Shahira, are you on the line? Shahira.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, tell me.
Condition is like the main term of an agreement.
Okay, condition are the main term of an agreement, or the fundamental of an agreement, or the core of the agreement, or the root of an agreement, right? Okay, continue.
It is stated under the section 12, subsection 2 of Sales of Goods and Act 1957.
Okay, it comes under section 12, subsection 2 of the Sales of Goods Act 1957. Okay. Condition are the main term of the agreement, right? Okay. So if one party breach a condition, mungkir that condition, what would be the repercussion? What's the outcome? What's the outcome, Shaida?
If one party breach a condition in an agreement, the party who suffered the loss can repudiate the agreement and claim for whatever loss.
So that means, if any party breach a condition in an agreement, the affected party can repudiate or cancel that agreement and claim for whatever loss, damage, or injury suffered. Am I right? Okay, to support that, can you give me any case for a condition? Any case? Oh, okay, now. Okay, now, Janice, can you give me a case? Janice, can you give me a case?
I can't remember.
Who can remember? Who can remember? Yo Wai Sun. Yo Wai Sun. Yo Wai Sun, are you on the line? Yo Wai Sun. Yo Wai Sun. Ada tada. Okay, so a case, Associated Metal Smelters versus what?
Versus White?
Case? Huh?
Is it versus White?
No, one case is Bernardman versus White. One case is Bernardman versus White, or another Malaysian leading case is Associated Metal Smelters versus Tam Chu Po. Am I right? You quote one case is enough. Okay. Now, what is implied term? What is implied term? Okay, can anyone of you help me? What is implied term? Implied terms which are not put in writing, but the parties to the agreement has a common understanding that such terms exist. Only thing, it is not put in writing. I'll repeat again, implied terms which are not put in writing, but the parties to the agreement has a common understanding that such terms exist. Only thing is not put in writing. Implied terms always refer to an act of parliament. So the implied terms we are going to refer here is the Sales of Goods Act 1957. So we're going to discuss section 14 to section 17 of the Sales of Goods Act. You all need to know, from section 14 to section 17. Okay, what does these sections all say? Section 14, 15, 16, and 17. Can anyone help me? Can anyone of you help me? Hello? Today?
Yes.
Tell me yes.
Section 14 is referring to the title of goods.
Okay, now section 14, you are right. Actually, you are right. Section 14 is referring to title of goods. What do you mean by title of goods? How do you explain that a bit further? How do you explain that a bit further? What do you mean by title of goods?
It's like the paper that say you are the owner, something like that.
Okay. Section 14 says title of goods, is it? Okay. If you are the legal owner of the goods, then you can transfer the goods and the title to the buyer. Am I right? If you are merely the registered owner of the goods, you cannot transfer the title. But physically, you can transfer the goods, but the title cannot be transferred because you yourself is not the legal owner of the goods. What's the difference between a legal owner and a registered owner? Shelley?
If you are the legal owner and then you clear the loan already, then you can transfer to another person. But if it's not the legal owner, you cannot transfer the title to people because the title belongs to the bank.
Okay. Yes, that's what you mean by registered owner. Am I right? Registered owner, you are not the legal owner yet. Once you have settled your loan installment under the Hire Purchase Act of Malaysia 1967. When you have settled the payment, only then you become the legal owner, then you can transfer the title plus the goods together, am I right? Okay, that is section 14, you're good. Okay, what is section 15 says? What the section 15 says? Hello? What the section 15 says?
It says that the good must be corresponding to the goods. The description of goods must be corresponding to the goods.
Okay, so that means, yeah, section 15 says the goods and the description must comply, am I right? So that means, yeah, if you are describing about the goods, the description of the goods must correspond with the goods, am I right? If the description of the good does not correspond, then the buyer has the right to reject, am I right? Betul kan?
Yes.
What is 16 then?
16 is like the goods must be fit for the purpose for its commonly use.
Goods must be fit for the purpose for which it is commonly used. Am I right? If you buy the goods, you must be able to use the good. If you are unable to use the good, then you have the right to reject the goods. Am I right? And section 17 refer to sample of goods. Am I right? Go and study all this here very briefly, very briefly. Section 14 to section 17, that all covers on implied terms. Okay. And also here, under this same area, you need to know on consideration. You need to know on consideration. Okay, what is consideration? Okay, can anyone, okay, Collie, can you help? What is consideration, Collie? What is consideration?
I can't remember this, sorry.
Okay, can't remember, yeah. Okay, who else here? Okay, hey, Joshua, are you on the line here? Joshua. Okay, what about Timson? Timson, are you on the line? Timson? You know why? Because consideration you need to know with terms of contract. Ada macam A, B, C, D, E kan, macam tu. This all into one. Okay, one part you need to know express term, one part you need to know implied term, the other part. Okay, what is consideration? Can anyone help me? Okay, consideration, listen, yeah. Are you listening? Dengar tak? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Consideration, yeah. Consideration is one of those elements needed for the formation of a valid binding agreement, right? The definition of consideration comes under section 2, subsection D of Contract Act 1950, an exchange for a promise. An exchange for a promise. Okay, so that means, yeah, every agreement need to have a consideration. Any agreement without consideration is null and void and invalid and cannot be enforced by the court of law. But there is an exception under section 26. Am I right? Section 26, am I right? Under section, because section 26, there are 4 exceptions, right? You need to know the 4 exceptions, yeah? Okay, very briefly only you need to know the main thing you need to know is what is consideration must be sufficient but need not be adequate. Am I right? What do you mean by that? Consideration must be sufficient but need not be adequate. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Consideration must be sufficient but need not be adequate.
It's like no need to be exactly same. It's like roughly is enough.
Okay. So what you're trying to say is that when you're explaining consideration must be sufficient but need not be adequate, you must explain the key 2 words there. What is sufficient and adequate? Sufficient means enough. Enough for one party or enough to one party. That means to the seller, or whoever. Adequate means must be exact amount. But the law of consideration is saying consideration must be sufficient but need not be adequate. Not necessarily must be adequate amount. Let's say I'm having a car worth market value 100,000. Today the market value of the car is 100,000. I'm selling it for 10,000. Is it a valid? Is that valid? Yes or no? If
Sorry,
let's say
sir, can you repeat again?
let's say I'm having a car, market value 100,000 ringgit. The market value of the car today is 100,000, but I'm selling it to B for 20,000 ringgit. Is that agreement valid?
Yes.
Yes, because as far as I'm concerned, that 20,000 is sufficient. Is it an adequate amount? Of course, no. The adequate amount is 100,000. But the law of consideration itself is saying consideration must be only sufficient, but need not be adequate. Not necessary must be adequate amount. Am I right? Not necessary must be adequate amount. Must be only sufficient. Depan. Any case there? Any case? Any case?
Chapters against Nestle, is it? Nestle.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that case you can put. Any other case? Malaysian leading case, Pang Siew Kim case. Pang Siew Kim case, you can put, go and refer to the slides, yeah, you will see that case. Or Nestle versus that case also you can put, yeah. Okay. Then under this same area, you need to know also what is past consideration. Okay, can anyone help me? What is past consideration? Can anyone help me? What is past consideration? Okay, past consideration, is it a good consideration or is it a not good consideration?
Not good consideration. Because it's like a very long time ago. It's like consideration back few years ago you didn't like fulfill it and you want to fulfill it now, something like that.
Okay, now my question here, Yong, is past consideration, is it a good consideration or is it not a good consideration? Is it a good consideration or is it not a good consideration?
Got two perspective lah. In Malaysian law, it's a good consideration, but in English law, it's not a good. It's bad consideration or it's not.
Correct. Because the English law is saying you cannot promise for a past act, am I right? Whereas the Malaysian law says you can make a promise for a past act. If you never fulfill it, then it's a breach, am I right? You explain all these things and you support with the case. You explain all these things, you support with the case. So that means, yeah, express terms, implied terms, past consideration is a good consideration, and consideration must be sufficient, but need not be adequate. Betul kan? You need to explain all these things. Ni semua total you dapat 25 markah.
Sir, about the past consideration, any support case?
Go and do some work. There are so many cases. Past consideration. Ada banyak cases. In the slides also there's a case one. Okay. Any questions so far? Any questions so far?
Teacher, the consideration is not under implied term, is it?
Huh? What then?
The consideration is not under implied term. It's like a new subtitle.
No, I can't get you. What's your question again?
I mean the consideration is not under implied term. It's like a new subtopic, is it?
No, you see, consideration comes under law of contract. One of the topics in law of contract.
Yes.
Consideration is one of those topics in law of contract. What I'm trying to say is, yeah, let's say in your exam, you have a question one. Let's say you have question one, yeah. A, B, C, D. A, let's say, asking you explain about express term. Let's say B is asking you to explain about implied term. C is asking you to explain on consideration must be sufficient but need not be adequate. D is asking you to explain past consideration is a good consideration. Depan. You got it?
Yeah. Got it.
But on all these things, you try to focus more on express terms and implied terms. More weightage. Okay? Dapat? Hello? Okay, we'll just take a small break, yeah? We'll just take a small break and then we'll come back. We'll just take a small break and then we'll come back. Boleh?
Okay.
Maybe a few minutes break, yeah?